I'm telling this story because carrying it alone started to feel like drowning in a crowded room. It began at our 6th anniversary dinner at RPM Italian in Chicago. My wife's phone lit up the table and I tapped the screen, thinking it was the lift I'd just ordered for us. Instead, the Messages app opened to a thread labeled with a man's last name and a black heart emoji. There was a live photo of our building S-back stairwell, her hand on a lapel I didn't recognize, with a caption that read, 15 minutes, room 1107 at the Langham. Just as the waiter set down the broccolini, my world tilted. The dining room was humming with other people's celebrations, but mine had just ended. Back home, she brushed her teeth, complained the steak was overcooked, and fell asleep like it was any other night. I lay awake, listening to the elevated train, and made a deal with myself. No rage, no scenes, no illegal shortcuts, just facts. The next morning, I used her phone, saying I needed the plumber's number. The man from the texts was Darren, a VP at her firm. I didn't screenshot anything. I knew Illinois is a two-party consent state, and I had to stay clean. Suspicion sharpens the world. I started digging. I pulled 6 months of our credit card statements and highlighted every hotel charge. The Langham, the Hoxton, the Roby. I printed out Uber receipts that ended near his condo and found charges from a florist that had never delivered flowers to our home. I sat at our kitchen table exporting spreadsheets and sorting data like I was auditing a stranger. One night, she said her team was hopeful about a big pitch and that she'd be late. An Uber receipt showed her trip to an address near the river. The next morning, our shared iPad, which mirrored her texts, showed a map dot near that same spot. A tiny confession that didn't know it was speaking. It kept feeding me previews I never asked for. A live photo of a hotel bed corner. The sound of a bathroom fan whirring. Her whisper, 2 minutes. It wasn't lurid. It was just cold, hard data. Dates and locations. My wife, Mara, was a self-made woman. Scholarship to DePaul, impressive internships, now a senior account director. She loved a room with money and small plates, and had a talent for charming her way through life. She believed rules were for other people. I remember once at a baseball game, she just slid into better seats, smiled at the usher, and whispered to me, "Take the win." That's how she approached everything. I booked a consultation with a family lawyer. Her advice was blunt. Judges prefer dates over speeches. Get your numbers straight. She told me about dissipation, marital funds used for non-marital purposes. Those could be repaid in a divorce. So I met my friend Nate, an IT guy, for coffee. I told him I wouldn't hack or install anything. He just grinned and said, "Good, don't be the crazy one." He helped me find her company's employee handbook online. Section 4412. Disclose any supervisor-subordinate relationship to HR. Section 6.4. Misuse of corporate funds is prohibited and could lead to termination. Meanwhile, Mara was acting sunnier than ever, trying to varnish over the guilt. She'd kiss my head and call me a hero for walking our dog Penny in the sleet. She even dropped Darren's name casually in a story about work, watching my face for a reaction. I learned a therapist's trick. Hold an ice cube in your hand until the burn just feels ordinary, and breathe. It helped me keep my voice steady. The breakthrough came by accident. An email popped up on the iPad from their accountant. Please clarify the 312 client hospitality charge. The Langham, room 1107. Darren replied, claiming the meeting ran late, so he booked a room. He CC'd Mara. She gave his email a thumbs-up reaction. It was the perfect thread to pull, all without a single shouting match. I built 3 binders, white for finances, blue for company policy, and red for their communications, all tabbed by month. Then, I mailed a certified letter to her HR director. I identified myself as a concerned spouse and pointed to potential violations of their own policies, enclosing copies of hotel bills with the last four digits of Darren S. corporate card and dates that lined up perfectly with texts and Uber rides. No threats, just the facts, laid out like architecture. HR moved like a machine. They audited card statements and pulled keycard logs from the hotel. They asked Mara and Darren if they had disclosed their relationship. They hadn't. Mara came home early one day, threw a stapled packet on the counter, and demanded, "You went to my job?" I slid a folder toward her filled with the evidence. "I went to the rules," I said. "This is our money. I want it accounted for in the divorce." She laughed. "Who says we're divorcing?" I just tapped the folder. "You did," I said, pointing to the months of receipts that spelled it all out. She tried to spin it, a mentorship, my control issues, but it was no use. I opened the iPad to that live photo and let the sound of the bathroom fan fill the silence. "This isn't about scandal," I told her. "It's about dates, policy, and debt." HR suspended them both. Darren lawyered up. I moved into an Airbnb with our dog, Penny. Mara didn't even fight for the dog, which told me everything I needed to know. I spent my nights eating takeout over the sink and labeling tabs for my binders like a monk. Mediation was surreal. Mara's lawyer tried to call the hotel rooms co-working spaces. My lawyer just lifted an eyebrow and asked, "Is there a corporate discount for that?" By the second session, HR had finished its investigation. Darren resigned to pursue other opportunities. Mara was demoted, her bonus was withheld, and her career took a massive hit. She told our friends I'd ruined her life, but Chicago is a practical city. People here know the difference between a man who writes down what happened and a man who just lights matches. The settlement was just arithmetic, not vengeance. I kept the condo. The dissipation reimbursement reduced her share of our assets. On the day the divorce was finalized, I stood downtown under the giant red flamingo statue and just let the colors soak in. I bought a coffee and paid with cash, just to feel free of a shared account for the first time in years. I learned that buildings stand because someone measured carefully, not because they promised to. Order isn't revenge. It's the only way you can start to breathe again. I don't hate Mara, and I don't miss the man I was when I was with her. I just learned that the truth keeps better time than any alibi, and it always shows up, whether you invite it or not. If you connected with this story, please subscribe to the channel. Let us know where you're from and what time it is where you are. It's always fascinating to see how far our stories can travel. Thank you for listening.